Hello, boys and girls and parents. The math unit we are focusing on has its major goal to develop a stronger understanding of place value. The students have already concentrated on adding and subtracting within 20 in order to become more fluent with their basic facts. However, in order for them to understand the concepts of addition and subtraction with 2- and 3-digit numbers, they need to first understand the value of each number. We approach this by building a working capacity to decompose the numbers and rebuild them with a deeper understanding of what each digit represents. We then move on to not only compare the numbers, but to be able to explain with depth why one number has a greater or lesser value even though both numbers are made of the same digits, or the same digits are in the same columns that makes them equivalent. We begin looking at the numbers in what we refer to as standard form, and that's when the children see the numbers written such as 2, 3, 6, 236. Now, even though a lot of the students can read the number that way, they're not sure of what the value is all the time. So from standard form, we move on to looking at our numbers in model form. In class, what we basically use for model form are our base 10 blocks. And within our base 10 blocks, we have 3 different types of blocks. We have a 1 block, an 100 block, and we have a 10 block. Each one of those represents the value that you see. The 1 block is 1, the 10 block is 10, and the 100 block is 100. In order for the children to do this model, they're going to pull out the blocks to show the numbers that we have. So in 236, they need 2 hundreds, they need 3 tens, and then they're going to need 6 ones. When we have them, when we have the children put the numbers together using their blocks, we have them do it so that they still put them in the place value columns. So the lowest value, the 1s, will always be all the way to the right, the 10s will be just to the left of the 1s, and then the 100s will be to the left of the 10s. From this point, what we'll do is we'll ask the kids to tell us what they have in their model. And that starts bringing us to the idea of unit form. And in unit form, the students are telling us how many of each unit they happen to have. So they would tell us that they have 2 hundreds, 3 tens, 6 ones. You can see now how the number, standard form, 236, has more meaning when it's shown as a model and said in unit form. What we'll do at this point is we'll ask the kids to either remove some of the blocks or to add some of the blocks and give us a new value. So what I'd like to do at this time is I'd like to bring down another 100 block. And we'll ask the children what the new value of that number is. I'll give their child a second to figure it out. And right, they should have told you that the new value is no longer 236. Instead, the new value is 336. They added 1 more 100 to it. Now, if I ask them to then bring down another 10, the value would change again, because now we have 4 tens. So the value becomes 346. He'll ask the kids if they can prove that to us. So they'll go back to their idea of unit form, and they'll tell us that there are 3 hundreds, 4 tens, and 6 ones. As I said, though, we also want them to take some of the blocks away so that they can give us the value going backwards. We're not doing addition or subtraction at this point. It's looking at our number to realize what the value is. So, if we ask the kids to start removing pieces, the new number might look something like this. So again, we're going to ask them what that value happens to be. At this point, we can see that there is 100, 2 tens, and 4 ones. The kids are going to read that number in standard form as 124. 124, when thought of in model form, has a deeper meaning than when we just read the number 124. So if we then move to the next place, we talked about standard form, and that's the way that you and I are used to seeing our numbers. 236, 336, 436, 124. Now we broke it down into unit form using our models, but now we want to go into expanded form so that the kids can see those 2 hundreds instead as 200, 30, and 6. Think about the next one. I'll give you a second to think of what we're going to move. All right. 300, 30, and 6. The students can see that the only thing that they're changing in value is the hundreds column. And the last one, 100 plus 20 plus 4. When the kids start to see these numbers and see their relationships, they're going to say, I have 120. We put the 4 on top of that. I have a value of 124. That was 100, 2 tens, and 4 ones. So again, in expanded form, the children would write that as 400 plus 30 plus 6. And that's the way that a lot of adults see the numbers. We don't typically try to add a 436 to a 336. We think of it as different units to add together. So how can you help your child with these concepts at home? Well, math is around us all the time. And anytime you're in the store or anytime you're in the kitchen and you're asking your children how many eggs are left or how many cans of soup are in the cupboard, or asking them to count change, they can start looking at it this way. And they can say, well, there are 15 eggs. Okay, so what does that mean? There are 10 plus 5, 15 eggs. And that makes a lot of sense to the children. Let's now take our numbers and start to make some comparisons. So let's start with the number 452. There's the number 452. If we want to compare that, sometimes it helps the children to be able to break the number up. So let's go ahead and look at that in expanded form. We have a 400, we have a 50, and we have a 2. Well, let's say that we want to compare that number to 524. The same numbers are being used in each of these two numbers. We have a 5, we have a 2, we have a 4. If we break it down and we start to look at it as 400 compared to 500, then the students know that 400 is made of 4 100s, 500 is made of 500s, so 452 is less than 524. So again, we have the same digits. Let's look at this one. 372 compared to 723. When we break it down into expanded form, we can see this number very differently. And it makes it easier for the students to be able to compare. We can see that we have 300s and we have 700s. We know we don't need to go any further, and we can just make our comparison from there. Let's compare these numbers. These look a little bit more similar than the numbers we've been using. Both of these numbers have 600. So we need to be a little bit more careful this time. And if we expand our numbers all the way out, we have a 600 plus 10 plus 5. We have a 600 plus 50 plus 1. This time the students have to go to the tens column and compare 5 tens to 1 10. 600s are equal, but 5 tens are greater than 1 10. And that's the way that we're asking our students to look at the numbers in order to be able to compare them. So what have we looked at? Well, we have word form, and that's how we're going to see the number written oftentimes. And the students know that that doesn't always make sense to them when they just read it that way. When they see it in their head, they see it in standard form. They see it as 345. Breaking it down in order to be able to do some math work, students are going to use expanded form and or unit form. 300 plus 40 plus 5, or 300s, 4 10s, 5 ones. As the students become better adept at looking at their numbers and understanding the value with them, we'll be able to move forward in addition and subtraction and not just have them memorize tricks or rules. The numbers will make more sense. I hope that this helps you in understanding what your children have been doing in school, and I hope that if you have any questions, you contact any one of the teachers that teach second grade at Booth Hill School. Thank you.